Roll humps.
Roll humps. Okay.
Yeah, so didn't really have a concrete plan of what I was going to do with my degree, to be honest. Kind of just knew that I wanted a career where what I felt like what I did really mattered, and ended up at PwC a few months after graduation and quickly just fell in love with the industry, truly. I've been at PwC for just over 5 years now, and I've really been able to build on what I learned in school and, apply it to the real world and do something that does matter and is really fulfilling.
Right. Now, where are you from?
I am from Eastover.
Eastover. So pretty, you're local.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, what lab analyst, that sounds very fancy. Talk a little bit about that role and what are some of the responsibilities?
So we are pretty much the quality control side of the operation. So we are making sure, as a lab analyst, my job is to make sure that the data that I'm producing is accurate and reliable, because operations relies heavily on the data, and good operational decisions really start with good data.
Yeah. Now, what keeps you doing what you're doing? I know you say you study for this, but is it continue to be a challenge? What's exciting about it?
Yeah, so I do like that this industry is always evolving and there's always something new to learn. What keeps me doing what I do, I'm also somebody that relies and depends on having safe, reliable water, so a little bit of selfish motivation there.
There we go.
But just, knowing that everything that we do matters, even if most people don't ever see, what all is going on behind the scenes, but it's incredibly important, and it's truly a privilege just to be a small part in this big municipal puzzle that, getting to protect the environment and protect our community.
Wow. Very humble response. And I'll take that time now to say thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
All right, now I'm going to swing it on over to Kendall. Kendall, good morning to you again, sir. If you would, kind of in the same mode, just tell us a little bit about your background. We know you've been with PwC a little over a month, and some of the roles and responsibility of being one of our engineers. And what's the difference between engineer one, engineer two? How many different levels are there?
Yeah, so the engineer 1, 2, 3, we refer to them as staff, project, and principal engineers. The staff engineers are typically our folks straight out of college. They haven't gotten their PE license yet. Our twos, we all have our PE license. I'm working on getting mine transferred over from where I came from, which is New York. And then our threes are our principals. They kind of head up all of the PEs and the working groups, and they head up different sections of our kind of organization for engineering. So we have CIP, which is capital improvement projects, developers, which is all the new homes, housing, commercial kind of coming through. And then our last group is kind of our hydraulics and how the system runs.
Yeah. Now, what got you interested in being an engineer? When I was coming up, my first exposure to the engineer profession was that television show, A Different World, and the character on there, Dwayne Wayne, he wanted to be an engineer. That was my first.
Okay. So I've been an engineer before I came here. I was an engineer for New York State Department of Health for 16 years. Before that, I went to school for chemical engineering. This isn't really chemical engineering. This is more environmental engineering. But I graduated at a time when it was hard to find a job, and the first one offered to me was from Department of Health, and it was either that or starting to work at McDonald's or something to make ends meet. And not using my degree. So I took the job, and I turned out I really fell in love with the water treatment and drinking water stuff. Kind of even before that, my dad was a civil engineer for 50 years. So I kind of got a lot of it through him and bringing up from that. But it's always been one of those things, even since I was little, taking things apart, figuring out how they work and how to make them better. It's kind of what I've always been doing, and this was just a way to apply it and work.
Now, you say you're coming to us from New York State. What part of New York?
So my first 5 or 6 years was in Albany. I worked in the central office there in an office called the Bureau of Water Supply Protection, which did nothing but drinking water. And then for the last 10 years I was there, I moved out just outside of Rochester. My father was having some medical problems. My mom needed help, so I moved closer to home to help them out and worked out of a district office there, which did a lot more of the day-to-day interaction with water systems. We did what was called environmental health. So our office also did like food service inspections and stuff. I did pools, beaches, septic systems, but mostly drinking water, and working with the operators to make sure plants maintain compliance with regulations, and make smart improvements.
Yeah. Now, I know you've been with us a short time, but what are some of the projects you're currently handling?
Yeah, so I was brought on because of my experience in treatment. I have a lot of experience all over New York State with different types of treatment plants and different needs for treatment, everything from a gas station to New York City. New York City's water system produces about 1.6 billion gallons of water a day. And I've done all sorts of treatment, from basic filtration to kind of the more emerging contaminants like PFAS, PFOA, 1,4-dioxane, all that kind of fun stuff. Yeah. So right now, my day-to-day stuff is focused around the plants. There's 40, 50 years of data and projects for me to get caught up on to kind of understand how the plants are running, and to start improving them with what we have there and looking at what we should do to improve them long term.
Okay, good deal. What keeps you doing what you're doing?
I'm a huge nerd, and it's one of these things that I get really into, the process improvement side and making it better. And I am not one of those people who wants to have the latest and greatest fancy technology and put the most amount of effort into it. I want to get the biggest bang for the buck so that our customers are getting the best quality water at the best price, so that we're protective of health, but we're not spending our money, unresponsibly.
Okay. All right, we're going to take our first break and come right back and talk to our two subject matter experts. I won't call you guys nerds.
You can call us nerds.
No, that's
I'm
good with it.
I identify as a nerd, too.
Yeah, I don't take offense to it.
You know what? I find that most of our colleagues are experts. Like I was saying, they're really passionate about what they do, and they care about really trying to be the very best in their profession. So that's why I would say you guys are more subject matter experts. But we'll be right back with PWC Connections, and we're going to jump into the topic. Thank you for listening to WIDU Radio.
Congressional Democrats say they're investigating the Trump administration's efforts to deport military service members and their families. That news follows an Associated Press investigation that found more than 50 active duty troop spouses and parents had been detained by immigration authorities. Nash County EMS Director Dale Griffin died Saturday after drowning at a beach in Carteret County. Griffin had led the Nash County EMS service since late 2023, spending 38 years in that field. North Carolina ranks in the bottom 10 of the United States Postal Service on-time performance ratings, scoring a 78.2 that's nearly 9 points away from the target of 87. Michael Brennan capturing the Wyndham Championship in Greensboro yesterday with a 64 for a 3-shot victory. Luke Kuechly became the 7th member of the Carolina Panthers to be enshrined into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. Tony Rixby, NCN News.
I'm Jamie Monticelli, WIDU Radio News. Cumberland County says join us for a community input session as we evaluate the proposed data center ordinance. Learn more about the ordinance development process, visit discussion stations about topics like water, power, land use, noise, environmental considerations, and economic impacts, and share your feedback before a draft ordinance is developed. This is Tuesday, August 11th, 6 until 7:30 p.m. at the J.D. Pone Recreation Center in Hope Mills. Cumberland County Schools says get ready for a great year of learning, growth, and CCS excellence with Cumberland County Schools Back to School Guide. Families can find important information and helpful resources all in one place, including open house schedules and school supply lists, immunization and health information, transportation resources, including Here Comes the Bus, school bell schedules, child nutrition and meal information, school calendars, and report card schedules. From WIDU Radio, I'm Jamie Monticelli.
You ever notice how most helpful information always seems to show up just a little too late? Like, oh, the deadline was yesterday. Or,
you know you could have saved money if you've done that earlier.
Timing matters. With smart timing, you can lower your energy costs by running appliances like washers, dryers, and dishwashers outside of peak hours. And by adjusting your thermostat just a few degrees higher between 3 and 6 in the afternoon, you can save even more. It's a simple shift that helps reduce strain on the energy grid, supports a more sustainable future, and keeps power reliable for everyone in our community. Because at Fayetteville PWC, we're committed to being environmentally responsible, dependable, and deeply invested in the place we all call home. Timing matters, and smart timing means savings. Learn more at startsaving@faypwc.com.
Welcome back. This is PWC Connections on WIDU Radio. We're talking about water quality here in this segment. We're going to be talking to Courtney and Kendall. Those names sound like they kind of go together, like a tag team sort of thing going on. But I'll start things off with you, Courtney. August is National Water Quality Month, for those who may be unaware. Why do you think this observance is important to PWC, and what does it mean to us as an organization as well as our customers?
Yeah, so water is our most life-sustaining resource, and we all depend on it every single day. And in the same breath, it's one of those things that's so easy to take for granted because we just always expect it to be there, and it's always there. Water Quality Month, it's a good reminder of all the people and all the work that it takes to make safe, reliable water possible. And it's also a chance to remind people that protecting water quality, it's not just on us, and I say us as a utility, it's also on us, to help be good stewards, of this resource, and we've all got a role to play.
I wanted to pause you, but I didn't want to slow down your momentum. But so many people feel like electricity is the more important service because they're used to having lights. They want to play their Netflix. They want to make sure the microwave or all those things work. But if we have an issue with water.
Yeah, and I'm the same way. When my power goes out, I'm out with my pitchfork. No,
yeah.
Not really. But yes, electricity is so important. Of course, we rely on electricity to treat the water. But just on a fundamental level, I think it's easy to forget that water is so important. And what's here is here. We're not making more, so.
Have you ever seen the television program Naked and Afraid?
Yes, a little bit.
Now, whenever they put them out in the destitute area, some of the things they have to do just to be able to drink from the water source, they have to have a means of purifying it, heating it up so that they can get all the toxins and things like that out. That kind of brings it home to let you know it's not just as simple as being able to drink from the river or from the lake.
Right. And even in that situation where, on a really primitive level, even just boiling the water, that's not going to remove things like what we're going to talk about, emerging contaminants, PFAS, those kind of things.
Right.
Conventional treatment.
Yeah.
Mostly on that, they're just trying to survive. I mean, literally, it's a survival show. So they're just trying not to get, a parasite or something.
I mean, that's the same thing for all of us. Our customers expect when they turn on the faucet that the water's going to be clean, that the water's going to be safe. Can you walk us through some of the steps? Please talk to our level, because I know you can talk very high level from everything that you do and what you've been trained on. But what does it take to provide water on an everyday usage to meet and exceed our needs and all the things that you got to go through standards wise federally to make sure that the drinking water is safe?
Yeah, so it really starts with continuous monitoring. It starts and it never stops with continuous monitoring. So whether that's water from, our source from Cape Fear River or Glenville Lake that we're pulling in, that we're going to treat for people to drink, or if that's even wastewater, which a lot of people really don't think about, wastewater coming in through the collection system. From the time that water enters the treatment plant, it is tested over and over and over until it either reaches someone's house or we put it back into the environment, into the river. Our operators are awesome, super, qualified. We've got a lot of good hands on deck. Lab staff, myself included, field crews, maintenance, all work together to make sure that water's consistently meeting and often exceeding also state and federal regulations.
Sure.
And it's literally a 24/7 effort.
Absolutely, literally. Kendall, I want to bring you into the conversation as well. Water quality has received a lot of attention lately with topics like PFAS and 1,4-dioxane, as well as the drought conditions. From your vantage point, what are some things that you feel like PwC does to make sure that we're addressing those water quality concerns and helping keep the public safe?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm here for that reason, right? PwC has recognized that there are further advancements to make within treatment in our own facilities to keep bringing our water forward and making sure it's as clean as possible and safe as possible for everyone. And one of the first things they did was find someone who knows treatment. We have a lot of operators on hand that are really, really good at their plants, but I bring experience from everywhere and from lots and lots of different technologies. They're much better at the optimization of what we have, but I can start introducing them to other ideas that may work better. With the GAC plants coming online, there are some, things just to pay attention to as they come online. And those are all things that I've dealt with in New York with GAC plants that went online in my area there. There are some different kind of treatment technologies and chemicals that I know of and that I've worked with before that we're going to start taking a look at with vendors and see if it would work better for us to kind of make a switch to them or just start blending them in or something along those lines, just to do what we can to optimize, to make things better, more reliable, more consistent.
Yeah, I'm going to have you expand on that. Having an outside perspective, you've seen a difference in some of the other technologies that are being used in other regions, but I'm sure you've had a little bit of an opportunity to observe some of the technology that's currently in place. So what are some things that you see PwC has in place or that we've invested in when it comes to those technologies, and what are some of your recommendations?
So there's some new stuff I have to learn since being here. So being in a warmer climate and with a different source, our coagulant, so the thing that we add to the water in order to start settling out contaminants, it's a ferric chloride. It's not something I've ever used or worked with before. So I've got a lot to learn on that, and that's a lot of what I've been doing the last couple of weeks, just to kind of understand the chemistry behind it, how it works, how it's effective. I know some other ones that I've worked with a lot in New York that are maybe more effective. We're going to start looking at running some benchtop pilot scale stuff to see are there better options out there, because the ferric is something we've been using for 20 plus years with no changes, and we may not make changes. It may turn out that the ferric is the best thing for us, but we want to kind of investigate those and make sure that it is, and that there's not improvements we can make at a relatively minimal price point. I mean, it's really just changing out a storage tank, and that's it. Everything else would stay the same. Yeah. Beyond that, I mean, PwC's, to give you guys props, is ahead of the curve. PFAS, PFOA, I came from New York where that's already regulated. We passed a regulation, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago, that included those, and we required treatment on them. But nationally, that's not a regulation yet, and it won't be starting until I think it's November or October. Mm-hmm. And PwC already has the plans on the books and the construction getting started soon for GAC, granular activated carbon plants, to help remove that stuff. Feds came out recently and actually allowed people to push those deadlines off even further. And PwC said, "Nah, let's just get ahead of it and let's get it done." We want to protect our customers and be in front of it instead of behind it.
There you go. Now, many residents or our customers may not realize that they too play a role in protecting the water source, as well as making sure that we have high water quality. What are some simple things, and Courtney, feel free to jump in here as well, that residents can do at home as well as in their neighborhood to protect water quality and make sure that we're doing what we can to keep the local watersheds clean?
So on the drinking water side, the big thing is if you see a leak that's on the distribution system or somewhere else that we are responsible for, let us know so we can get out there and get it fixed. The wastewater side is really more of the area where people get to have a say, wastewater and stormwater. So pay attention to what you're putting down your drain. Don't flush paints, don't flush oils. There's ways to dispose of those correctly. Keep in mind that everything that goes down the drain is going back to the Cape Fear River. Even though it's going in downstream of us, there's more water treatment plants downstream of us that are going to end up with that water later, and we don't want to end up having, giving them bad water quality to begin with. The stormwater side, same thing. Don't pour stuff down the stormwater drains that you wouldn't, want to be drinking, because that's going to be ending up in somebody else's drinking water down the road.
Don't flush medications.
Don't flush medications. Absolutely. Pay attention. Don't throw trash out. If you go to the park, pick up after yourself. Don't leave it out there. I know there's a park around Glenville Lake. Keep in mind that's a drinking water source for us. If you do go down to the Cape Fear River Trail and you go down along those, keep in mind of what you're doing and where you're putting that stuff. It's not just the flowing water or the standing water. All the area around it is a watershed. It's what leads to the recharge of these areas, and we need to be good stewards of that watershed to make sure it stays clean.
Yeah. Well said. Anything you would add to that, Courtney?
I think he hit all of it, especially, thinking about what you're putting down the drain. It's easy because you just send it down and it's gone. It's not my problem. Well, it is. And it's coming back,
That's right.
whether we're sending it down to somebody else or, yeah.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take one more break, and then we're going to come back and have some conversation about the recent water shortage response that PwC and the city of Fayetteville have issued in response to some of the potential drought conditions. You're listening to PwC Connections on WIDU Radio. We'll be right back.
You ever notice how most helpful information always seems to show up just a little too late? Like, oh, the deadline was yesterday. Or,
You could have saved money if you'd done that earlier.
timing matters. With smart timing, you can lower your energy costs by running appliances like washers, dryers, and dishwashers outside of peak hours. And by adjusting your thermostat just a few degrees higher between 3 and 6 in the afternoon, you can save even more. It's a simple shift that helps reduce strain on the energy grid, supports a more sustainable future, and keeps power reliable for everyone in our community. Because at Fayetteville PwC, we're committed to being environmentally responsible, dependable, and deeply invested in the place we all call home. Timing matters, and smart timing means savings. Learn more at startsaving@faypwc.com.
6 potential candidates being considered to replace Congressman Chuck Edwards as the potential Republican nominee in North Carolina's 11th congressional district ahead of a meeting tonight in Asheville. The Nash County EMS family is mourning the loss of their director after a drowning in Carteret County over the weekend. A rapidly strengthening El Nino could bring wetter conditions and increased risk of coastal flooding and potential severe winter storms to North Carolina as it peaks later this year in early 2027. A demonstration against a new immigration bill in Raleigh this weekend, faith leaders and clergy gathering at Halifax Mall. Former Miss North Carolina USA 2026 Brittany Bolton House speaking publicly for the first time since being stripped of her title. She says the decision was tied to her personal beliefs. Luke Kuechly officially inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. Tony Rixby, NCN News.
I'm Jamie Monticelli, WIDU Radio News. Cumberland County says join us for a community input session as we evaluate the proposed data center ordinance. Learn more about the ordinance development process, visit discussion stations about topics like water, power, land use, noise, environmental considerations, and economic impacts, and share your feedback before a draft ordinance is developed. This is Tuesday, August 11th, 6 until 7:30 p.m. at the J.D. Pone Recreation Center in Hope Mills. Cumberland County Schools says get ready for a great year of learning, growth, and CCS excellence with Cumberland County Schools Back to School Guide. Families can find important information and helpful resources all in one place, including open house schedules and school supply lists, immunization and health information, transportation resources, including Here Comes the Bus, school bell schedules, child nutrition and meal information, school calendars, and report card schedules. From WIDU Radio, I'm Jamie Monticelli.
It is another warm and sticky start to our Monday morning. Early morning temps in the 70s. We've got high temperatures in the low to mid 90s heading into the afternoon, and a few isolated showers and thunderstorms can't be ruled out. Most of those out of here as we head into the overnight. Partly cloudy with temperatures in the low to mid 70s. Hey, by Tuesday, we're back in the low to mid 90s with a higher heat index and scattered late day storms. I'm meteorologist Chris Michaels in the NCN Weather Center.
Hey, you looking for your next car? Start at Bryan Honda, 4104 Rayford Road in Fayetteville. At Bryan Honda, we make buying a car simple, stress-free, and affordable. Whether you're searching for a brand new Honda or a quality pre-owned vehicle, we've got a huge selection to fit every lifestyle and every budget. From fuel-efficient Civics and Accords to family-friendly CRVs and Pilots, Bryan Honda has the perfect vehicle waiting for you, and with our friendly, knowledgeable sales team, you'll never feel pressured. Need financing? No problem. Bryan Honda works with multiple lenders to get you approved fast with competitive rates that make sense for you. Plus, our certified service department is here long after the sale, keeping your Honda running strong for years to come. Drive smarter, drive happier, and drive home today from Bryan Honda, 4104 Rayford Road in Fayetteville, or you can visit online, bryanhonda.com. Your road starts here. Nobody beats a Bryan Honda deal, not now, not ever.
Welcome back. This is PWC Connections on WIDU Radio. I'm the host today, LAMONT HINSON. We're having a conversation about water quality as well as giving an update on the water shortage response that was issued through the city of Fayetteville and Fayetteville PWC. We're going to jump right into one of those conversation topics. I'm in the studio with two of my colleagues, Miss Courtney Barnes and Mr. Kendall Larson. Kendall, if you would, many people have been reaching out since we've gotten a little bit of rainfall here in the area, and they're wondering, is there still a water shortage response, or are we able to take away the stage 1 alert that was put out there? If you would, give us a little bit of an update or try to explain why the alert still remains in place.
So it's important to remember that even though our water comes out of the Cape Fear River, the recharge area is way, way upstream. And it covers a very, very large geographic area. And to keep in mind that North Carolina in general right now is in a historic drought. I went to a meeting and talked with some of the other folks that were along the rivers. And we're missing something like 15 or 16 inches of rainfall over winter. So typically the way the water cycle works for us is we draw down from our reservoirs and all those sources throughout the year, and then winter comes around and that's when we recharge and refill all of those. And most areas of North Carolina essentially saw zero recharge last winter. So we are down 15, 16 inches where we're supposed to be for rainfall in order to cover that. And that's kind of why we haven't lifted those level 1 restrictions right now, is because even though we're getting a half inch here or a quarter inch there, it's really not making a whole lot of impact on it overall. And also keep in mind as the river drops and it gets a lot harder to treat too. So we kind of want to slow stuff down to give us more time to treat and just make better quality water.
Yeah. Appreciate that. You really broke it down into layman's terms, if you would. Now, for those who may be unaware, you can go to our website, faypwc.com. Right there on the front page of the website, there's an explanation. But for those listening right now, what exactly does this stage 1 water shortage response mean for our customers? Is there enough water to meet our customers' needs? And what are some actions that customers could be taking in order to assist during this time?
So primarily stage 1 is voluntary restrictions. None of this is required yet other than the ordinances that are already in place normally, but it's really a time for people to just think of their water usage. When you turn on that faucet, think, how long do I need to have it on? How long do I need to run it for? Do I need to go and do this today? Are there ways that you can make small adjustments to your life to just make it a little bit easier for the rest of us? So, when you're brushing your teeth, turn off the faucet in between, starting and finishing. If you're thinking about getting your car, washing your car, take it to a car wash instead. Car washes are actually a lot more efficient in terms of water usage than washing at home in your driveway usually. Think about drought resistant plants instead of normal stuff. I just bought a new build house when I moved here, and I need to establish a lawn over quite a large area. I'm either going to do it in small sections, or I'm going to wait to do it all during a rainfall event, so I don't have to be watering and spending a bunch of water on it. For the same reason, we don't want to be using a ton for where we don't really need to right now.
Makes sense. Yeah, also with your irrigation, and we have an outdoor year-round water schedule. So if your address ends in an even number, there are particular days, 3 days out of the week that you could be watering. Likewise, if your address ends in an odd number, there are 3 days out of the week that you should be watering, and try to adhere to that. And this is something that we recommend to our customers throughout the year, regardless if there's a water shortage response or not. And as you mentioned, simple conservation, like turning off the water faucet whenever you're washing dishes. If you're doing it by hand instead of using a dishwasher, even though we would probably recommend that you use the dishwasher, just once you're scrubbing that dish, turn off the water. Same thing with brushing your teeth. It's the little simple tips and tools that you could be using, and that are also on our website, water conservation tips, on faypwc.com, that you can adhere to right now during the current conditions as well as throughout the year. Courtney, I would ask you, what are some conditions that need to be in place before we can remove this? Kendall kind of touched on it a little bit, but as the utility continues monitoring those conditions, what is needed?
Yeah, so we are looking for sustained improvement rather than, just one or a few rainfall events, because, rainfall can be very localized. So two of the primary factors that we are continuing to watch are the U.S. Drought Monitor and flow releases from Jordan Lake, and then also, of course, monitoring the river levels and river conditions and our own water supply and treatment operations. Whenever all those indicators show conditions across the basin that have sufficiently improved and they're likely to remain stable, then we can reevaluate lifting the stage one.
Yeah. Now, I'm sure there are some customers that are concerned about the lower water levels and how it affects quality and safety of the drinking water. Can you reassure our listeners and let them know about the treatment process and PwC's commitment to continue providing that safe, reliable drinking water?
Yeah, so I want to distinguish, so water quantity and water quality, we look at those at two different issues. Lower river flows, they can change some characteristics of the raw water coming into the treatment plant, but our operators are monitoring continuously of those conditions and adjusting accordingly. The standards for finished drinking water don't change just because the river's low. We've got to adapt and keep the water safe. That's, the whole big picture of it all. PwC has significant treatment capability, multiple source water options, and we do a lot of lab testing. So our responsibility is the same every day: safe, reliable water.
Yeah. Talk about that lab testing. What does that look like? Take us behind the scenes on some of the stuff that you guys are doing in the lab.
Yeah. So for me specifically, my days pretty much right now revolve around wastewater. But, that can change. One day I might be running, process control and compliance for wastewater, and then the next day I might be running some nutrient analysis for drinking water or wastewater. We do a lot of field sampling, so throughout the distribution system, to monitor things like chlorine residual to make sure that there's adequate disinfection still throughout the system. So like if you see hydrants open, because some people might see, I saw a hydrant open and we're supposed to be conserving. Well, that might be an area where we need sufficient turnover. There might be discoloration. We might need to get new turnover, new water in there, to stay in accordance with, safe water and water that looks pleasant and clear.
Sure. If I could have both of you kind of chime in on this, the difference between wastewater and stormwater. We treat wastewater. That is one of the services we provide. And then the city of Fayetteville, they have a stormwater division. And I'm sure some people think water is water. But what would be the difference in your expert opinion? Or if you could just provide an explanation so the listening audience could get a better understanding that they are distinctly different.
So wastewater, when we talk about wastewater, we're talking about sanitary sewers, what goes down the drain in your house. And when we're talking about stormwater, we're typically talking about what's going in the gutter on the side of the road. They are treated very differently. Our wastewater in the sewer, it goes to one of our two plants, either Rockfish or Cross Creek. Sorry, I'm still remembering all the names.
Very good.
And it's treated there and then released back into the river, where typically stormwater doesn't receive as much treatment. And more modern ways of treating stormwater is basically just slowing it down, trying to go into some sort of bioretention area like wetlands or something else in order to provide some natural treatment before it's returned back to the environment and the water cycle itself. We don't typically treat stormwater because stormwater is very, very high volumes, and trying to build something big enough to treat it is an absolute nightmare. Where I came from in New York, we had a lot of cities that were on what were called single sewer systems, where storm and sanitary were combined. And in those cases, when you have high rainfall and runoff, they just overflow what they can't treat into whatever body of water is nearby. That's less than ideal. We don't want to be doing that.
Yeah. Now we're talking about water quality. August is National Water Quality Month. Coming up on August 12th, it is Wastewater Professionals Day. This is something that's been recognized here locally as well as throughout the state. So I want to shout out all our colleagues that work in the worst. It's a lot of W's in the wastewater area. But Courtney, if you would also share with our listeners some of the recognition that PwC has received through the state and nationally for being recognized for meeting and exceeding standards when it comes to water quality.
Yeah, so PwC was actually the first utility in North Carolina to receive the Partnership for Safe Water Directors Award, and we have maintained that level of performance for going on 25 consecutive years now.
Quarter of a century.
Yes. Both Hoffer and Glenville, both of our drinking water plants, they've also received the North Carolina DEQ's Area-Wide Optimization Program Award for 2025. We also call that AWOP. AWOP standards are intentionally more stringent than normal regulatory requirements. So those awards are a good independent measure of how well our plants are performing. And we're not just, meeting requirements because we have to, because it's regulated. We're doing more than that.
That's right. We've had several of our operators also be recognized for being operators of the year throughout the years. So this is something that PwC as an organization takes very seriously, and we appreciate all the individuals and their hard work for what they do to keep these standards being met and exceeding. Sure. All right, we're getting ready to take one more break, and then we're going to come back with some reminders for the month of August and leave you guys with a closing message from both of our subject matter experts. You're listening to PwC Connections on WIDU Radio. We'll be right back.
For your next car, start at Bryan Honda, 4104 Rayford Road in Fayetteville. At Bryan Honda, we make buying a car simple, stress-free, and affordable. Whether you're searching for a brand new Honda or a quality pre-owned vehicle, we've got a huge selection to fit every lifestyle and every budget. From fuel-efficient Civics and Accords to family-friendly CRVs and Pilots, Bryan Honda has the perfect vehicle waiting for you, and with our friendly, knowledgeable sales team, you'll never feel pressured. Need financing? No problem. Bryan Honda works with multiple lenders to get you approved fast with competitive rates that make sense for you. Plus, our certified service department is here long after the sale, keeping your Honda running strong for years to come. Drive smarter, drive happier, and drive home today from Bryan Honda, 4104 Rayford Road in Fayetteville, or you can visit online BryanHonda.com. Your road starts here. Nobody beats a Bryan Honda deal. Not now, not ever.
Ladies, it's your time to shine. Join Faith Tabernacle Christian Center for a weekend of ministry, fellowship, and fun during our Sisters Retreat 2026 in Myrtle Beach, October 2nd through 4th, hosted by Pastor Denise Goings. This wonderful retreat will take place in Myrtle Beach and will include transportation by a chartered coach to and from Myrtle Beach, 2-night stay at a luxurious oceanfront property, 2 meals, several life-changing seminars and workshops throughout the weekend by Pastor Denise Goings and others. T-shirts, door prizes, and much more. All this for the early bird rate of just $300 per person. In a double bedroom with a 2 or 3 bedroom condo, a deposit of at least $75 is needed to register. Registration is open until September 20th, but space is limited. So go online and register now. Don't miss this opportunity to get away and fellowship during this life-changing weekend for ladies only. To register, call 910-865-5252 or visit us online at ftccenter.org.
This morning, starting out with the warmth and humidity, packing that 1-2 punch that we so often see this time of year. That's going to be the case into the afternoon with high temperatures in the low to mid-90s and perhaps a few isolated storms. Overnight, it's partly cloudy with temperatures in the low to mid-70s. Then as we head into Tuesday, it's more of the same. Low to mid-90s, a higher heat index, and perhaps a better chance of scattered storms later in the day. I'm meteorologist Chris Michaels in the NCN Weather Center.
You ever notice how most helpful information always seems to show up just a little too late? Like, oh, the deadline was yesterday. Or,
You know you could have saved money if you'd done that earlier.
timing matters. With smart timing, you can lower your energy costs by running appliances like washers, dryers, and dishwashers outside of peak hours. And by adjusting your thermostat just a few degrees higher between 3 and 6 in the afternoon, you can save even more. It's a simple shift that helps reduce strain on the energy grid, supports a more sustainable future, and keeps power reliable for everyone in our community. Because at Fayetteville PWC, we're committed to being environmentally responsible, dependable, and deeply invested in the place we all call home. Timing matters, and smart timing means savings. Learn more at startsaving@faypwc.com.
Welcome back to PWC Connections. You're here, chimed in with Lamont, Kendall, and Courtney. We've been talking about water quality and the water shortage response. It is August. I want to remind our listeners with a couple reminders before we get out of here. So one, we're still adhering to the summer peak hours for time of use. So that's going to go on until October. So the time when your electric rate will be lower is 21 hours out of a 24-hour day. So 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. is when that rate is a little higher. In fact, it's 35% higher. So if you can shift your consumption to the hours outside of that little 3-hour bubble, it will help you save on your bill. And this is something that you should adhere to for the 7 days of the week. We used to have a setup where weekends were slightly different, but now we're on a 7-day-a-week schedule. So 35% lower rate during those off-peak times. You want to get more information, you can go to our website, faypwc.com. And while you're there, learn more about our incentive programs and things that can also help you save on your bill. Also be reminded that we're in the midst of hurricane season here in North Carolina. Hurricane season runs from June all the way until the end of November. So just Know that you can go to our Storm Central page, get information on how you can put together an emergency preparation kit, things to be prepared for, a 72-hour kit, things that you may need just in case we should fall off the grid. So you might want to have a supply of water, batteries, cash on hand, medication, food supply for yourself and others in your home as well as your pets. So we give some tips and information to help you get prepared. So go to our website again, faypwc.com. We also put out a storm preparation guide. It's a little digital packet, gives you all kind of things to be mindful of as you prepare for what could happen. During this episode, we also shouted out our colleagues that work in the wastewater area because on Wednesday, August 12th, it is Wastewater Professionals Appreciation Day. This is an opportunity for us to shout out the hard work that is done, making sure they do their part for water quality as well. And people want to make sure when they flush the toilet, things are going where they need to go, as well as the water being treated. We offer really cool tours at our water reclamation facilities, Cross Creek and Rockfish. So you can get in contact with PWC at 910-483-1382. And we can try to schedule a tour so you can see how that process works. And you may even be able to go over to the lab and meet Courtney.
Yeah, I'll be there.
All right. Also want to make people aware of some of the utility assistance resources that are available. So if you're having trouble falling on some tough times, we totally understand. Number one, we want you to reach out to PWC so services don't have to get disconnected, but also know that there are resources available to you. So on our website, that's that same faypwc.com, there's a special tab for utility assistance resources that let you know some of the partners here in Fayetteville and Cumberland County that can assist and that work with us throughout the year to help some of our residents and some of our customers. Our next episode of PWC Connections on WIDU Radio will be Monday, September 14th, and we're going to be talking about storm preparation. So we might have one of our guests here from the Red Cross as well as one of my colleagues to kind of talk you through some things you could do as we get ready to just stay prepared in case the worst should happen when it comes to a storm. The weather is very unpredictable. Before we wrap up, I want to give both of our guests an opportunity to chime in. And what message would you share with our customers about the importance of conserving water, things that they can do throughout the year to stay safe and help us with the water quality, and just stay informed as we continue to monitor the river levels as they return to normal? I'll start with ladies first. You go ahead, Courtney.
So, like I said before, I say water is our most life-sustaining resource, and conservation really is a community effort, and a lot of it is simple things like we talked about, fixing leaks, avoiding unnecessary water use. Little acts of conservation across thousands really does make a meaningful difference, and we, myself included as a customer and as, being a part of PWC, we do appreciate customers doing their part, and helping us help them.
That's right.
So we'll continue keeping the community informed as conditions change and when the stage 1 water shortage response can safely be lifted. Social media is a great way to stay in the know. Even myself as an employee and a customer, I'd encourage everybody to follow Fayetteville PWC on Facebook, social media channels like that. It's one of the easiest ways to stay informed about things like water shortage updates, outages, even conservation tips, because we want our customers to have the latest information as soon as it's available.
Well said. Kendall?
I think the biggest thing for people to keep in mind is just that we're in a historic drought. This is not the new norm. This is not what's going to be going forward. It's in the fact that we're in a historic drought, which is why we're emphasizing it so much now. But now's a great opportunity for you to fix those things like leaks and be a little more conscientious about your water usage at the time now. But come winter, assuming we get the recharge that we're supposed to get, this will be lifted. This will not be the new norm going forward.
All right.
Yeah, and I'll say
Go ahead.
just one more thing. So stage 1, it's intended to be an early precautionary response. I know we've hit on that a lot. We would rather encourage voluntary conservation while adequate water is available rather than waiting until conditions are critical.
Right. All right. Well, I want to thank both of you guys, or say thank you for making time, sharing your expertise. This was a great conversation. I feel like I've learned some things as well. Hopefully our listening audience has too. I want to thank the WIDU radio station for allowing us this platform so that we can share information with the community. Please come back. Check out PWC Connections next month when we're here talking about our next topic, which should be storm preparation on September 14th. I want to thank you all for listening, and